good, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning in to a new episode of Tune Check Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Cris. Just like every other episode, I'm gonna talk about some news, then I'm gonna go into my album reviews at the end. Hope you guys are all enjoying your summer. Well, we're like close to the end of July. There's gonna be August. But before we get started, you already know, subscribe to my channel, follow me on TikTok and on Instagram, like this video, comment, let me know what you guys think. But like I said, let's get into the news. So the first thing I want to talk about, we had a few album announcements, within the past couple weeks. So let's start with Mariah the Scientist. She announced her album dropping on August 22nd. It's called Heart Sold Separately. She released a new song called Burning Blue a few weeks ago. I believe maybe last month. I'm not too sure, but it's been doing really good. I like the track. I think it's fire. And you already know it's Mariah the Scientist. She don't drop no bad music in my opinion. I think all of her stuff is fire. I really like her artistry. I love her work. I like how creative she is. Now maybe if she could get Thug to drop, that'd be fire too. But I'm really excited for this album. I think it's gonna be fire. But speaking about new albums dropping, we also got Kid Cudi. He announced that he's also dropping on the 22nd of August. The album is called Free. I really did enjoy Kid Cudi's album last year. I thought it was really fire. I do love how he approaches his music, but I'm definitely excited for this one. Then the next person that's dropping an album is Metro Boomin. This one I'm looking forward to. It's dropping this month in July. Well, it's not really an album, it's a mixtape. He's dropping a new mixtape. He did announce that he has 20 new guests on it. So, a whole new set of guest features. He's not going to stick to his typical features, like 21 Savage, Young Thug, Future. So I think that's pretty interesting. I would love to see, who he has on the album, who he's going to put on and everything. I love Metro Boomin. I think his production is fire. I think he's one of my favorite producers out right now, to be honest. Two of my favorite albums from this decade is from Metro Boomin, Heroes and Villains, and then Savage Mode 2. Those are two albums that I constantly go back to and listen to on a daily basis, to be honest. But like I said, he's dropping it in July and it's going to be called a Futuristic Summer. So like I said, I think it's going to be fire. So shout out Metro Boomin, shout out Mariah the Scientist, shout out Kid Cudi. Next, we got some news regarding Cardi B. So she released her single Outside. It's the first female rap song to debut in the top 10 on the Hot 100 since Enough Miami, which is another track of hers that I believe dropped last year. She also became the female rapper with the most solo hits. So shout out to Cardi, definitely doing stuff. I'm excited for her album. Shout out to Cardi. I think she's dope. She's definitely gotten better as an artist and as a rapper within the past couple years. So I really am expecting this album to be great. I think it's going to be fire. We waited years for this sophomore album to drop and I'm happy that we're finally here. But speaking about Outside, there is an issue that came up with that track. So Risa Rain, who's another rapper, I listened to her track Outside. Risa Rain has a track also called Outside, and she's accusing Cardi of stealing that track. So I heard both tracks, and I'm not gonna lie, Risa Rain's Outside and Cardi's Outside are basically the same thing. The beat is the same. The lyrics are pretty much almost alike. I'm telling you, if you go listen to both tracks, they sound exactly the same. This just reminds me of an issue that happened last year with her and Bia. Bia accused her of stealing her fallback track, with Enough Miami. And both of those tracks sound exactly the same as well. If you listen to the beats, they're really rapping over the same song. So this is the second time that somebody accused Cardi of doing this. And to be honest, I hate it because I think Cardi is a great rapper. I think she's a great artist. Her rapping ability has definitely improved within the past couple of years. She's been doing really good on her features, bodying everyone. But it does suck that this is happening. There hasn't really been anything official. I'm not sure if there's an official lawsuit or anything, but I think Cardi's, good for right now. I don't think it's really going to blow up to be anything else because last year with Bia, it didn't really blow up to anything else either. I'm sure her and Risa are gonna figure it out and they'll come to a compromise or something. And then next we got Kendrick Lamar. So his GNX tour becomes the biggest co-headlining tour of all time, according to Billboard. It generated $256 million, sold 1.1 million tickets across 23 shows. He's currently in the UK right now. I think he's gonna go to South America afterwards too. So he made this whole thing into a world tour. This tour also surpassed Jay-Z and Beyonce's On the Run tour. GNX also made history as becoming the longest #1 rap album on Billboard's rap charts. It surpassed Pop Smoke Shoot for the Stars album. Luther is also now the longest running #1 rap song on Billboard's hot rap charts as well. But shout out to Kendrick, he's out here doing his thing, making his bread. I'm never going to be mad at somebody making the bread. Kendrick is a great artist as well. So I'm happy that he's having one of the biggest moments of his career right now, which is great. Same thing for SZA. SZA's an amazing artist. And then speaking about music, dropping music. We got ASAP Rocky. This is mad disappointing, to be honest. So he recently dropped a new song called Pray for the Gang. So he premiered it exclusively on Apple Music, and it didn't even break their top 200 charts. He even deleted the music video that he dropped for the song off YouTube as well. Like you can't even find it no more. And this is what I was talking about for like the past couple episodes whenever I brought up ASAP Rocky, he's pushed this album back so much and like keeps talking about it and doesn't drop anything. He just keeps dropping snippets. Some of them sound fire, some of them don't. I feel like he just waited so long to like put out more music. He doesn't have none of that momentum anymore. And it sucks because ASAP Rocky is like honestly one of like my favorite rappers. I really enjoyed that whole ASAP era from his mixtapes to his first album. Like I still listen to those songs to this day. And it just really sucks because I'm really looking forward to this album. But it's just the reception of everything that he's been putting out. It hasn't been that great. I don't even know if this album's going to drop anymore. I don't even know if he's going to release like another single just to delete it again. But hopefully he does drop his album. Hopefully like it's good. But for the last piece of news, I got Drake. So as you all know, he dropped What Did I Miss? So Drake is back basically. Started his album rollout. He did a whole YouTube stream for this song. It's called Iceman Episode 1. He previewed other tracks as well, which sound pretty good. He basically addressed, people switching up on him. But the stream was all right. It was just him like in an ice like factory or company or something, just measuring ice and stuff, which was funny as hell. Just him previewing What Did I Miss live, and then he went like around Toronto driving in the Iceman truck. So it was just him driving around Toronto, interacting with fans. He was acting tough with one fan, which I thought was corny as well. I'm like, it ain't really that serious. I don't know if that person was paid to do that, but I thought it was whack. Like, just keep driving. Why you even care? But Drake also became the first rapper to earn 1 billion streams in June. This marks the first time since June 2024 for any rapper. What Did I Miss? Reached number one on Apple Music on the US charts, received over 2.8 million streams in just 24 hours on Spotify. It debuted at number one on Spotify and Apple Music. What Did I Miss? Debuted at number two on Billboard, which is fire. He was aiming for the number one spot, but they didn't count the day that he released it because it was the start of a new week supposedly or something. But there was a lot of people on social media that I was reading like their comments. They was just like, oh, he can't even get a number one no more. He can't do this. He can't do that. But I think they're just being haters. Like everybody's a Drake hater nowadays. And I think it's corny. Anything he does, good or bad, people are just going to hate. Anything he says, same thing. Keep in mind, like he got number two with this track and he didn't get no push from his label. There was no marketing behind it at all. No push, no radio play, and he still got number two. He also had his Wireless Festival this past weekend, so it was 3 nights of Drake. He did 3 different sets. Each set had different songs. He had different guests on them as well. So for the first night, which was Friday, he dedicated it to R&B. So he brought out Bobby Valentino, Bryson Tiller, Mario, Lauryn Hill, Giveon, and I thought that was fire. I remember a few months ago, Bryson Tiller was saying that he almost signed to OVO, and like people were like, "Oh, it's good that you didn't. It's good that you didn't. Drake would have done this. Drake would have done that." They was being real negative about it and everything, and it seemed like Bryson had an issue with Drake, but Drake brought him out to Wireless Fest. He performed this song, and it was fire to be honest. So it just goes to show that a lot of people really just be hating and just talking out their necks, like it's crazy, but it is what it is. Then the second day, he brought out like Lotto, 21 Savage, Sexy Red, a couple other rappers as well. And then on the third day, he had Dave, Central C. I believe he also brought out Jay Who's on the second day. I'm not, but I do know on the third day he brought out Vibes Cartel and everything, which I thought was fire. It was fire seeing Vibes Cartel on the stage. Vibes Cartel was also like, one of the performers for the festival as well, alongside Burna Boy and everything too, Summer Walker. There was also a clip of the crowd chanting F Kendrick. Drake, was hearing it and he like, I guess was shocked or surprised. I don't know. He made like a little face, but he was like, I'll drink to that. So they poured him a shot and people was just mad about that too. And it's just like, what do you expect this man to do? You know what I mean? Like, is he supposed to say, yo, stop? Like people are like, yeah, he's supposed to say stop, this and that. But you got Kendrick going around the world performing Not Like Us. And if somebody says stop, he's not going to stop. Nobody would stop. Tell him to stop anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he did anything afterwards that was crazy. He just took a shot. Like, I thought people were just being super biased. Like I said, people are really biased when it comes to Drake and when it comes to Kendrick as well. And it's just weird to me because he can't talk about his own rap beef, but then Kendrick could talk about the rap beef, and then other artists could talk about the rap beef. Then there was also another thing that Drake said too, that, UK rap is better than US rap, that the UK rappers are better than the US rappers and everything. And people was like, oh, like he's running over there now. Like, nobody in the US, fucks with him. Now he's going over there. I've seen some people say that he's using the UK now. I think that's corny too because Drake's always showed love to UK rappers and the UK like rap scene for years now. He's always had them on their songs. He's always showed love to them, even with like the OVO Sound radio station, always playing music from UK and UK rappers as well. Like, yeah, he does like petty things and he does say like some crazy shit sometimes, but I didn't really think none of this was that serious, this whole situation. But he also has a new song coming out with Central C on Friday. They previewed it at Wireless Fest and it does sound pretty fire. I didn't really get to hear like most of it, but from what I did hear, it does sound pretty good. So I'm looking forward to that. But shout out to Drake. He dropped What Did I Miss? It went number 2 with no label push, no radio play. He did his Wireless Festival, which was great. All the guests that he brought out, all the songs he performed. I thought it was fire. People are really out here saying, "Oh, his career is dead. Drake is dead." But like, hey, like he still went in the top 10, still got number 2. What Did I Miss? Reached number 1 on Spotify and Apple Music. So I'm still trying to figure out like how his career is dead, but it is what it is. But that's it for the news. Next, I got my 3 album reviews. So let's get into it. And the 3 that I got to review is 2 rap albums and 1 R&B album. So let's start with the R&B album first. You already know Giveon, Beloved, 14 songs, 39 minutes long, no features, which is fire. I think he did a great job on this album. Giveon has definitely been blowing up on the R&B scene. Like he's released so many great tracks. And this is one of the albums that I was really looking forward to. We needed a good R&B album, and that's exactly what he delivered with this. Giveon has such a unique voice as well. I love Giveon's like creativity. I love how he makes these songs. Like I think it's fire. He has such a unique voice as well. This album, it was very soulful to be honest. There was a few like jazz elements on some of the tracks that I really did enjoy too. But like every other Giveon project, he sings about love, heartbreak, self-reflection. He's very expressive with his lyrics. You could definitely feel the emotions that he's trying to like portray with his voice and how like the production is and everything. I think that's fire. And he's really able to open up to everybody who listens to this album. Definitely one of the most vulnerable albums out recently. I really did enjoy the intro as well. The first track is called Mud. I like how he like brings us in. It starts with the strings and low key that like was really beautiful to be honest. But he's basically just talking his shit, about how he's done everything for this girl, how he loves her, and how she's just really playing with his name, So this definitely falls into the category of heartbreak. Then you have like the 2 tracks that he released as singles, Rather Be in 20s. Then one of the tracks that stood out to me was track 4. I love how it started. Like sounded like it was like a play or something with the violins and then the beat drops, after a couple seconds. But I really did enjoy the consistency up to this point because, he was really singing about losing his relationships. So that falls into the category of heartbreak, which is also continued on track number 5, which is called Numb. Then there's also track 8, Keeper, which falls in that category as well. Then also track 10, which is Backup Plan. This is the one that also had like a lot of jazz elements. I love the bass, and his voice definitely blended well with how the track was produced and how it was sounding. Then when it comes to him singing about love, there's track number 6, I Can Tell. It's really about infidelity, but it's still about him finding love somewhere. Then there's track 7, Diamond for Your Pain. Sings about missing someone and how he loves spoiling her. Then there's track 8, which is Keeper, where he's singing about how he knows that he's enough for the person and that he knows his worth. So that falls into the category of love and also, like self-reflection. The track that did sound really repetitive to me was track 13. It's called Avalanche. That one, I feel like I've heard it multiple times because, there's like 2 other tracks that sound very similar to it. Then there's the last track on the album as well, Good, Bad, and Ugly. He kept everything consistent and he pretty much brought the whole album full circle. And then he just sings about all of the topics that he touched on this album, giving you like a little recap. And I thought that was fire. Like this whole album was really good. I thought it was great. So this is an album that you'll definitely enjoy. It's very, very refreshing as well for the genre too. So I would definitely check it out. I would definitely recommend it. But shout out to Giveon for dropping another great project and keeping everybody in their bag, especially over the summer. And now for the second album that I want to talk about, you already know what it is. Jackboys 2, 17 songs, 56 minutes long. I feel like the rollout for it was pretty long. It wasn't really a consistent album rollout. He did drop like a few snippets here and there, but compared to like other album rollouts throughout this year, especially the Clipse one, which was probably like the best album rollout I've seen in a while, this really didn't have the best one, but it did debut on Spotify with 35 million streams, which is fire. Travis Scott did respond to Pusha T with like a line on here, which I thought was kind of a mistake, because Pusha T would destroy Travis, but I don't think Pusha T is going to respond to him because he did post up the lyric and he started laughing at it on his Instagram story, which I thought was funny. But I did enjoy this album. I thought it was fire. I didn't really think it was like the best album to drop. I don't think that it's album of the year, but it is a good album. I gave it like a good, what, like 7 out of 10. I kind of wish that this album sounded more collaborative. It sounds like a regular Travis Scott album with him just featuring like other artists, to be honest. That was my only reason for it. Then there was some tracks that like just like wasn't really hitting for me. So it starts off with Champagne and Vacay, track number one. This is just Travis Scott and Don Toliver. I like that they started the album with this song. My only issue is that the hype man was just too much on the track. Like, you know what I'm saying? The person that was screaming in the back, I thought he did too much. It really didn't help it out at all. It's kind of annoying, to be honest. This is the track that he, this Pusha T on. He said all these old men kill him and that he was pushing T's and made 1 million. I didn't really think that was like the craziest bar. I thought it was kind of whack. But I had a feeling that he was going to respond to him with this album. I was just like, damn, you made a mistake, but Pusha T didn't really say nothing. He just replied on the Instagram story. I don't think he's gonna reply. I don't think he needs to, but we just gotta wait to see if he actually decides to put out a diss track. I mean, he did say Travis was harmless, so I don't really think he's gonna say nothing else. Then after track one is track two, 2000 Excursion. I thought this track was fire. He released this a few days ago before the album actually came out. It was like a YouTube video that he dropped. I thought it was pretty dope. The transitions between, Travis, Sheck West, Don Toliver. I thought that was pretty fire. Sheck did his thing too. He's not really like the greatest rapper in my opinion, but he did his thing. He definitely flowed on this. And then I feel like Don Toliver really stole like the entire thing with the hook and then his verse at the end. I thought that was fire. This track was one of the songs that definitely showed off, like their production and their creativity. So then one track I definitely want to talk about is Kick Out, which is the one with 21 Savage. So I thought he was gonna have like an actual feature on this, but he really didn't have anything. Like he was just doing ad libs, to be honest, in the back. I didn't have no problems with that. I thought it was pretty fire. To me, it didn't really add or take anything away from the song. But Travis did end up removing some of the ad libs because the fans wasn't feeling it. I didn't really mind it in my opinion. But this beat was perfect for Travis Scott. Like he flowed on this and it was amazing. I thought it was crazy. This is one of my favorite songs. The beat switch at the end was fire too. I didn't really expect that, but Travis definitely did a good job with this track. Then there's Dumbo as well. Dumbo is one of my favorite songs on this album. Just the beat and just how hyped like this entire song just gets you is like fire. His verse towards the second half of the song was amazing. Travis Scott really did his thing on these solo songs. After that, there's also MM3. I didn't really like MM3. This was the Sofago track. I don't even know if I said his name right, but I didn't really like the song. I thought it was one of the weaker songs in the album. I didn't really like his auto tune on this track. Like the beat and the production was cool, but he wasn't really saying nothing that stood out to me. The way the verses was delivered wasn't really that great to me, especially Travis Scott too. Like I don't even know like what he was doing and what he was saying, but I feel like this was a track that maybe shouldn't have been on the album because he did such a good job with the previous tracks. The energy and vibe wasn't similar to the earlier tracks when it came to this one. I thought that was kind of whack. Another track that I really did enjoy was Velour, track number 7. Sheck definitely switched up his flow. Finally, Don Toliver is always great, always does his thing. The one thing I didn't like was how the beat was progressing. It sounded like it was building up to something. Then track number 8 just sounded like a Playboi Carti song, to be honest. Sofago did better on this track, but I wasn't really feeling this one either. Then there's track number 9, I Love My Bitch. You already know this was released like a few months ago. I love this track. This is probably my favorite song off the entire album, to be honest, or one of them. Like ever since this song released a few months ago, I've been playing it nonstop. I love it. I think it's fire. It's one of my favorite songs of the year for sure. I play this track faithfully because it's just that good. Then afterwards, you got track number 10, Where Was You? That was the Cardi feature. I thought the beat was perfect for Cardi. It sounded like a Playboi Carti song. Cardi kept it real simple. He ain't do too much with his voices or ad libs. Future definitely surprised me at the end. I thought it was Cardi at first, but it's actually Future. But this wasn't his best verse, in my opinion. I feel like he could have done better. I did love how dark the beat sounded, especially with the vocals in the back. They basically made their own version of Where You At, Then the next track is the track with Don Toliver. No comments. I like how he played with his voice in the beginning by making, the pitch higher. This was also another track I enjoyed. Don Toliver is always going to deliver. Then there's Beep Beep. Beep Beep was corny to me. I thought it was whack. I didn't really like the song. Then there's track 13 called PBT. I didn't really expect Travis to deliver a track like this. Tyler was the feature on here and Vibes Cartel. I love how he was able to pretty much make a song that definitely complemented Tyler and Vibes Cartel style. Track 14 is Shine. Like, my favorite things about this is the beat. It sounds like they're about to get down to business. Glorilla did her thing too. I thought she was fire on it. I think she kills any feature that she does. She's definitely one of the best rappers out. But a lot of people was hating on it. I think people just dislike female rappers for some reason at this point. And I think that's crazy because they've been carrying pretty much the whole rap game since like 2020, not even 2020, like what, 2018, 2019? People just gonna hate for whatever. But shout out to all the female rappers, bro. Then there's track 15 called Outside. I was in the middle with this track because it's cool, but it sounded a little repetitive. It didn't really stand out to me. This was kind of one of the weaker tracks. The feature on this song was NBA Youngboy. Not really an NBA Youngboy fan. I think he just makes terrible music. That's just my opinion. Track 16 is Can't Stop. Don and Wally the Sensei. This track was fire. I love the production. Don verse in the beginning was fire. Future went off on this track as well, and I'm happy that he like actually did a good verse on this album because the other verse that he did earlier was trash. Wally the Sensei was fire too. When he came in rap singing, I thought that was hard. I think Wally had the best verse on the song as well. Then there's track 17, Florida Flow, Kodak Black and Travis Scott. The beginning was alright, but the beat switch was cool. Travis kind of changed the whole mood for me with that. I wasn't really feeling it at first. Like, it was okay to end the album with this. I didn't really think this was like the best way to end the album. But this album was a solid 7 out of 10 for me. Like, I didn't really think this was the greatest album that dropped this year. I don't think it's the worst album that dropped this year. A lot of people are saying that this is terrible, but I don't really think it is. I'm not the biggest Travis Scott fan, but I give credit when it's due. I've always gave Travis's props when it comes to production. Like I said earlier, it feels like it's a Travis Scott album with just features. I wish there was more of a collab feel considering it's supposed to be a collab album, but it is what it is. It's still fire. But like I said, I don't know about album of the year. I don't know about any of that. I don't think it's close to that at all. I'm not sure if this is going to make my top 10 list, but it is a solid album. But if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It's called JackBoys 2. They finally dropped. And then the last album that I want to talk about is obviously the Clipse album, Let God Sort Them Out. 13 songs, 41 minutes long. The features are John Legend, Kendrick Lamar, Tyler the Creator, The Dream, Stove God Cooks, Abliva, and Nas. The last album that the Clipse dropped was back in 2009. It's been like, 16 years? So they're back. Whole new album, produced by Pharrell. The album rollout has been one of the best album rollouts that I've seen. They just released 2 singles. Then they actually did interviews with people who have like a very strong platform in the hip hop and rap community. Like they went to radio shows, they did a few podcasts. Thought that was fire. They were just talking about the music. It was great. The album rollout was fire. And then they ended the album rollout with a Tiny Desk performance. They even did like a whole like album release thing too, where they performed the tracks as well. So I kind of want to talk about my favorite tracks first. So one of my favorite tracks is FICO. Not even my favorite track. I think that is like my most favorite track on this album. Like my number one track is FICO. Obviously, they're rapping about drugs, like Clipse, Pusha T, you already know. But I think this is the best track on this album. Stove God Cooks was the feature on this album, and he really delivered with his hook. I thought he was fire. It was perfect for the song. I love the production on here. I love just how Malice flows. I think it's great. Then there's also So Be It. So they kind of switched it up with So Be It on this album. They like changed the beat. Not really sure why, but I feel like this beat definitely suits the vibe that they were giving on this track. I love this version better than the So Be It they released a few weeks ago. I love the keys on here. I love the vocals in the background. Makes it sound like some opera, like gospel kind of thing. Definitely adds like a real sinister element to it. And I feel like that's what they wanted to go for on this track. It's pretty much the same lyrics, just a different beat in the back. And like I said, I think this version sounds so much better than their first release of it. Then another song that I really did enjoy is Let God Sort Them Out, Chandeliers. I love the beat switch. And I also loved it because of Nas. Like Nas is just Nas, bro. He's the GOAT. He's always gonna deliver. Well, he's one of my GOATs. I think between him and Eminem are like hands down like my top number one rappers, like for sure. Him and Eminem got that. I can't choose between one or the other. Nas did his thing. You already know, like he's always gonna drop a great verse whenever. I expected nothing less from Nas because he always delivers. I did like how they start the album. You know, the first track is called The Birds Don't Sing. John Legend is on the hook. They pretty much bring you in rapping about their parents, you know, their parents passed. Pusha T raps about his mom. Malice raps about their dad. I like how one person raps about one parent and the other one raps about the other. You know, I feel like that just demonstrates how close they were with their parents as well. You know, I thought it was handled very well. The storytelling on this track is amazing too. You know, I love the gospel elements that are mixed in here. Another track that was pretty much a track that everybody was talking about was Chains and Whips with Kendrick Lamar. So they previewed this track, you know, at a listening party a few weeks ago. This was the verse that the Clipse was talking about that, you know, got them dropped from the label where Pusha T had to pay like 6, 7 figures to get out of it, you know, because of the Kendrick Lamar feature. People were saying that is because Pusha and Kendrick had beef with Drake and that Kendrick was saying something about Drake or whatever. But honestly, like when I finally heard the track, like the official track on the album, he don't even say nothing crazy, bro. Like it's not even anything to like even get dropped for, you know what I mean? Like it's I thought that was ridiculous. Like, and I do like the bar, like the hook, beat the system with chains and whips. You know, he's beating it with chains, you know, his chains and then his whips, his cars and everything. I thought that was a fire bar. And then Kendrick's verse was amazing. That was just, honestly, I thought it was incredible. Like, this is the verse. This is a Kendrick Lamar feature. This is a Kendrick Lamar verse. Not whatever the fuck he gave us on like that Playboy Cardi album. That was whack. Like I said, I thought that was whack. I didn't think that was the greatest verse at all. I didn't think that was his best verse. Clearly, Kendrick just did it just to like get more hype. Also because Cardi needed the hype too. This was a Kendrick Lamar feature, bro. Like this was one of the best ones, to be honest. Another fire feature on this album is Tyler the Creator on POV. You know, I love the beat on this track. Tyler the Creator went in. I think this is one of my favorite Tyler verses as well. And he was really out here just rapping. I love Pusha T's tone on this track. I love how he sounds passive aggressive on the hook and everything. Then Malice comes in with the beat switch and he just delivers a great verse consistently throughout the album. He's been delivering great verses. I think honestly, he out rapped Pusha T like on every other track. But you could tell Tyler has been waiting to be on the Clipse album. And, you know, once he got the opportunity, you know, he just completely gave him 110%. And I love that for him. There was one track that I didn't really enjoy as much because of Pharrell. You know, I don't really like that Pharrell was on some of the hooks on these songs. I feel like he didn't really add like too much to it and kind of took away at some points. But that's just my opinion. But regardless, the album is fire. Like this is an album that I've been replaying like a lot since it dropped, to be honest. And I'm happy that this came out. There's another track here that I really did enjoy too. Track 7, Mike Tyson, Blow to the Face. This gave me like a 2000 Clipse sound, to be honest. Like it really took me back to like their earlier works. I love the sample and the background vocals as well. Then there's track A to Beta, classic Pharrell sound. This reminds me of something that Pharrell will release like in his Neptunes era. You know, I think he did a really good job with that. I love the back and forth and how like Pusha and Malice float on this. Then there's like the last track on the album too. I thought this was like a great way to end the album. I know like everything I'm talking about is like spread out, but that's just how I wrote it down and everything. So my bad on that. But if you're still with me, thank you for still being with me. I get why they ended it with this track as well. They want to stick to the theme of the album, especially the title. But overall, this album was fire, bro. Like this is really what a lot of people needed, and this is crazy. And I hate the narrative that like all these old heads are like rapping better and coming back, like 50-year-olds and this and that. Like, what is like what? Y'all gotta stop that. Like that don't make no sense at all. Like Clips are just giving us a whole master class again of how like really rap and how to put out a project. It ain't nothing about like old heads doing better than this and that. Nah, bro, there's been old heads doing better than everybody. Like, what are you talking about? But one thing I did realize about this entire project is that Malice did not like say one like curse word at all. It was just straight bars. He did have some biblical bars here and there, but he didn't really say nothing like crazy or like nothing with curses or anything. And I thought that was fire. You know, Pharrell did a great job on his album as expected with his production. You know, one of the greatest producers of all time, in my opinion, for real. Definitely like fits the clip style. Definitely sounds like something familiar that they would release or that they have released. But then it also has like a lot of like new elements that keep it fresh. Like I said, this is an album that I've been listening to and I keep listening to. Nothing but bars and great production. This is a pure, great hip hop and rap album. And who would have thought that like we would have gotten another Clipse album like I remember hearing their music when I was growing up and everything. So it's just like it feels like a full circle moment to me. But and when it comes to like the hip hop and rap category, I feel like this is definitely a contender for album of the year, or it may really just be album of the year, in my opinion. But if you haven't heard it, then you're definitely missing out. Go check it out, go listen to it. And with that being said, this episode comes to a close. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for sticking with me through the whole thing. Like I said earlier, subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment, follow me on social media, follow me on TikTok, Instagram. I appreciate all the love I've been getting recently. Thank you so much. Stay safe out here. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Hope you guys enjoy the weekend. I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.